A thick cloud of secrecy has descended over Zimbabwe's security establishment after reports emerged that senior army officials were summoned to a sudden late-night briefing in Harare and then ordered to remain absolutely silent about what was discussed.
The mysterious meeting, held behind locked doors at an undisclosed military facility, has sent shockwaves across political and diplomatic circles, with questions now swirling about what prompted such
an urgent gathering and why those present were allegedly instructed not to speak a word of it to anyone outside the room.
According to well-placed security sources, the late-night briefing took place shortly after 11 p.m. when top commanders, intelligence directors, and operational chiefs were contacted directly through secure channels and told to report immediately. Several officials were reportedly collected in unmarked vehicles while others arrived under heavy escort. Phones were confiscated at the entrance, and all electronic devices were switched off or placed in signal-blocking pouches before the meeting began. Those familiar with standard military procedure say such levels of secrecy are highly unusual unless the briefing involves extremely sensitive national security matters or an internal power issue that cannot be allowed to leak. The atmosphere inside the meeting was described as tense, with some officials appearing confused about the urgency, while others seemed to have prior knowledge of what was coming. One insider claimed that a senior commander opened the session with a stern warning, telling those present that information shared here tonight is not to be repeated in any form. Speculation has already begun to mount regarding what triggered this extraordinary gathering. While details remain tightly guarded, sources suggest the briefing may be connected to rising political tensions within ZANU-PF as the 2028 succession battle intensifies. Reports have circulated for weeks that the relationship between President Emmerson Mnangagwa and his deputy, Vice President Constantine Chiwenga, has deteriorated significantly. Some insiders claim the meeting may have been called to address concerns about loyalty within the ranks or to issue directives on how the military should respond to unfolding political maneuvers. Others believe the briefing may be linked to a classified intelligence assessment warning of destabilization attempts, either from internal factions or from groups outside government structures. At least 2 diplomatic missions in Harare reported unusual movement patterns in military logistics in recent days, although it remains unclear whether these are coincidental or part of a bigger picture. One Western diplomat said privately that the military's sudden closed-door activities suggest something sensitive is being managed quietly, something they do not yet want the public to know. A second theory points to fears of civil unrest triggered by the country's worsening economic hardships. Fuel shortages, soaring food prices, a collapsing currency, and rising public frustration have created an unstable social climate. Some analysts believe the army may have been instructed to prepare contingency plans should protests erupt in major cities. The government has not issued any statements indicating such a threat, but past patterns suggest that authorities often act preemptively when signs of public agitation begin to surface. However, those closest to military operations say the nature of this particular briefing felt distinctly political rather than purely operational. One insider noted that the tone of the commanders was not about defending the country, it was about managing the politics. If true, it would not be the first time the army has played a behind-the-scenes role in ZANU-PF's internal affairs. The military has historically been a key power broker in Zimbabwe, most notably during the 2017 coup that ousted longtime ruler Robert Mugabe and elevated Mnangagwa to the presidency. What has raised even more concern is the reported gag order that followed the meeting. Multiple sources claim that officers were warned that any leaks would be treated as acts of insubordination or even treason. One senior official allegedly told colleagues that careers would be ended immediately if details of the briefing appeared in the media or reached political factions. This heavy-handed approach has led observers to believe that whatever was discussed is extremely sensitive, possibly involving issues of succession, security realignment, or a looming internal confrontation. Some speculate that the briefing may have involved intelligence about efforts to undermine the presidency or shift allegiances within the military hierarchy. There have been quiet whispers in political circles suggesting that some officers are increasingly uneasy about the direction of the country and the leadership struggle within ZANU. If the meeting addressed these concerns, the warning for silence may be aimed at preventing panic or stopping rival factions from gaining strategic information. Others believe the army may have been informed about upcoming political announcements or decisions that could trigger strong reactions. These may include changes to top leadership positions, restructuring of security forces, or new measures related to election preparations. Given Zimbabwe's history, any suggestion of changes in military leadership or shifts in political military power could destabilize an already fragile environment. Meanwhile, reactions from analysts have been swift. Political commentator Gerald Mandzivizia said the silence surrounding the meeting is both worrying and predictable, noting that secrecy of this magnitude usually points to matters that could significantly impact national stability. When the army is instructed to keep quiet, he said, it means something big is happening, something those in power fear could cause unrest or resistance if made public too early. Others warn that the lack of transparency fuels speculation and distrust, particularly at a time when citizens are already anxious about political uncertainty and economic collapse. Without official communication, rumors will continue to spread, some grounded in fact, others exaggerated by fear. For now, what transpired in that late-night briefing remains locked behind military walls. The army has issued no public statement, and government spokespeople have either denied knowledge or refused to comment. Yet, the suddenness of the meeting, the secrecy surrounding its content, and the strict gag order placed on top officers have left many asking the same question: what exactly is happening behind the scenes? And why is the military being told to stay silent? Zimbabwe has entered another period of murky uncertainty. As the political climate heats up and the economy worsens, the actions of the military, especially when they occur in the shadows, become even more critical to understanding the country's trajectory. For now, the nation watches quietly, waiting for signs, whispers, or slips that might reveal what those officers were told that night and what it means for the future of Zimbabwe.